BK, it's Mr. Matt and Miss Alina, and guess what? It's week 13 of BK Online, and we are so happy that you decided to join us this week.
Absolutely.
So we are in a new session, a new unit, and we are learning new stories about the Israelites. We have come through Egypt. We have come through the wilderness.
Oh, a long time.
Now, a long time in the wilderness, 40 years. We are now we've been in the promised land. Now we are learning about the Judges.
Ooh.
One of my favorite books in the Bible. I know I say that like every week. It's my favorite story. It's my favorite this. It's my favorite that. Judges really is one of my favorite books in the Bible. So many cool stories, and we're talking about one of them today. But before we talk about the specific story of Judges, we are going to be talking about the cycle of Judges. So from Judges, from the beginning to the end, there is a cycle that the Israelites fall into. And we call it the ABCDE of Judges. This is what the cycle looks like. So for A, we have apostasy. Basically, that's a big word for saying that the Israelites chose to turn away from God.
Not a good thing.
Not a good thing. So B then is bondage. When they turn away from God, then God sends their enemies to come and enslave them and make them captives.
Also not a good thing.
No, bad stuff right there. Then we get to C. C is cried out to God. So after they turned away, after they became slaves, they realized they messed up, and now they cried out to God. Then, after they cried out to God, we have deliverance in the form of a judge. Basically, a person who was sent by God to save the Israelites. After deliverance, we have ease.
They're on the up and up.
They're on the up and up. Ease is years of peace. So maybe 40 years, maybe 80 years. But then that peace would run out and we start the cycle all over again. So even though they're on the up and up, then they go back down. In today's story, we are learning about the judge named Ehud. A cool fact about Ehud was he was a lefty. Now, Mr. Matt, why does it matter that Ehud was a lefty? Well, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. See, in Bible times, a lot of people were right-handed, which means they kept their sword on their left side so that they could draw like this, being right-handed. But Ehud was a lefty, which means he kept his sword on his right-hand side. So when he walked into the palace to talk to the Moabite king Eglon, he had his sword on his right-hand side, which the guards never checked for because everyone kept it on the other side. So he just walked all in. Hey, I got a message for your king. Okay? So when he went and talked with King Eglon, who also was super fat, it even says that in the Bible. This king ate very, very well. Twinkies all day long. So when Ehud walked in to talk with King Eglon, he said, "Sir, I have a secret message for you." So King Eglon kicked all of his servants out. And then Ehud drew his sword and stuck it through the belly of King Eglon. And he was so fat that the fat swallowed the sword and hid the sword so Ehud could jam out of there, hide, and declare victory in the name of the Lord. It's a lot going on in that story. Can't wait for you to dive in and learn more about my boy, Ehud. Also with the new session comes, yes, you guessed it, a new Bible verse. Miss Alina, what's our new Bible verse?
Our new Bible verse comes from 1 John 1:9. You ready to learn some hand motions?
Hand motions. We're going to go full speed and then we'll slow it down on the second time.
Yes. All right. Ready to help me out?
Let's do it.
Okay. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness.
1 John 1:9.
1 John 1:9.
I know we went really fast on the hand motions, so we'll slow it down, okay? Here we go. 1 John 1:9.
If
we confess our sins, He is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us of all unrighteousness. See? Slow-mo. Movie magic right there.
Who needs editing?
Not us. All right, and also we, have a family activity this week. It's a fun one.
It is a fun one.
I know I say that every week, but I promise you, this is a fun one.
He means it every week.
We are calling this week's family activity, drum roll please, the Left Hand Challenge.
Woo!
Parents, I encourage you to jump in on this one too. It's going to be a good one. So, with the Left Hand Challenge, I know some of you don't know the difference between your left hand and your right hand. That's okay. Basically, think about it like this. What hand do I use all the time? For me, I use my right hand all the time. So, in this challenge, you're going to do everything that you would do with your right hand, now with your left hand. Brush your teeth.
Brush your hair.
Eat your breakfast.
Walk your dog.
Draw a picture.
Pick up things.
Clean your room.
Write a letter.
Wax on, wax off.
Pick your nose.
Scratch an itch. Whatever it is that you do with one hand, just do it with the other. Parents, maybe cook. Text.
Vacuum.
Texting with the opposite hand is super hard.
Pour the milk.
Pour the milk. Yeah, whatever it is, do it with your left hand. Yes, it might get messy. Yes, you might look a little silly, but it's summer. We're in kids ministry. It's supposed to be super fun. And that's what this family activity is going to be. Hashtag Left Hand Challenge. Miss Alina.
Yes.
I think you have a fun announcement.
I do.
For a special week in summer.
It's still not too late to sign up for VBS. SBS.
Staycation Bible School.
The cost is $25 per student, and that includes everything you need. It includes video content, snacks, craft supplies, all the goods. And you do it right at your own home. And the dates for that is June 22nd through the 26th.
So, make sure you sign up. Okay? Today.
You don't want to miss it.
Don't want to do it. Again, we grew up in Vacation Bible School. It is so fun.
It's the best.
So fun. BK, we love you. We're praying for you all the time. Oh, we miss you guys so much. And I know that I just feel it. I feel it. We're so close to seeing you guys.
Maybe send us a video of you doing all your left hand things.
That would be super fun. Maybe we'll put a video out of us doing left hand things.
Send it to bridgekids4sq@gmail.com.
Boom, boom, boom. And guess what? We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Joshua had died. Without a strong leader, the Israelites disobeyed God and worshiped false gods. They ignored and forgot about the one true God. God was angry. He let an enemy king take over the Israelites, and they served that king for 8 years. Then, the Israelites remembered how good they had it when they loved God and obeyed God. They cried out to him, "Save us." God wanted the people to love and obey him. So God raised up Othniel to rule over them as the first judge. Othniel led the Israelites into battle against the king of Aram, and God helped the Israelites win. The land was peaceful for 40 years. Then Othniel died. Again, Israel ignored God and forgot him. God gave the king of Moab power to attack the Israelites and defeat them. The Israelites served the king of Moab for 18 years. The Israelites were sad. They remembered how good they had it when they loved and obeyed God. They cried out to him, "Save us!" So God raised up Ehud to save them. The Israelites sent Ehud to the king of Moab, who was a very large man. Ehud had a double-edged sword under his clothes. Ehud said, "I have a secret message for you." The king dismissed all his attendants, so he was alone with Ehud, and the king stood up. Ehud pulled out his sword. He pushed it into the king's belly. The sword was swallowed up by the king's fat. Ehud couldn't even pull it out. Ehud escaped down the porch, locking the doors of the room behind him. Ehud was gone when the king's servants came in. The door was locked, and they thought he was using the bathroom. They waited, but the king never opened the door. The servants got worried, so they unlocked the door and found their king dead on the floor. When Ehud escaped, he blew a ram's horn and he became the Israelites' leader. God will help us defeat our enemies, the Moabites, Ehud told them. So the Israelites battled the Moabites and took control over them. There was peace in the land for 40 years. When Ehud died, the Israelites ignored and forgot God again. They turned away from him. When they remembered how good they had it when they loved and obeyed God, they cried out to him, "Save us!" God sent a third judge, Shamgar, to save them. The judges saved the people from the consequences of their sin, but not the cause of it. God's plan was to one day send a true deliverer, Jesus, his own son, to be the king of his people. Jesus saves people from sin forever.
Hey there, I'm Pastor Brian, and it's time for Questions from Kids. Alex from Homer, Alaska asks,
My parents found out I didn't do my chores at all last week, and now they won't let me go to my friend's sleepover. I said I was sorry. Why won't they just forgive me and move on?
Alex, your question really reminds me of the stories that we're studying right now through the book of Judges. Because in Judges, we see that God's people would do something wrong. They would rebel against God, they would disobey him, and God would send a consequence for their sin. And in this case, he sent opposing armies to come and conquer them and made life really difficult for them. But the reason he did that was because he loved them. He wanted them to learn from their mistake and grow. And sometimes the best way we can do that is by experiencing consequences of our sin, of our disobedience. And again, God's intention is so that we can become better people, following him, loving him more. And consequences of our sin is sometimes the best tool he has to use for that. And I imagine your parents are probably thinking something along the same line, that they love you, they want what's best for you, they want you to learn, and obedience really matters. And so they're letting you experience some consequences so that you can really learn this lesson and it gets down deep into your heart. Because again, that's what God's after. He's after a changed heart that wants to serve him, that wants to please him. And one way we do that is by obeying our parents. So how does Jesus change our hearts?